Day 6 of Browns training camp in the books, and Mary Kay Brissett took center stage today, of course, as he will start some number of games. Right now it's 6 to start the season. We'll see what happens if the NFL appeals. But Jacoby Brissett spoke before practice today. What did you take away from what he had to say?
Well, first of all, Jacoby Brissett is such a cool customer, isn't he? I mean, he's kind of like Kevin Stefanski. He's just real laid back. Nothing bothers him. He knows to go with the flow. Throughout his career, he's gotten thrown into the fire in New England, in Indy, you name it. So he's used to this. I think he's up to this task.
And Ashley, look, he's done this before, right? I mean, Andrew, you couldn't make up a scenario where your starting quarterback retires after a preseason game and you've got to take over a starter. So he's been in weird situations before.
Yeah, and I think that was a big draw for the Browns, going out and getting him in the first place after they got Deshaun Watson. And I thought it was a good quote from Anthony Walker Jr. today, who, of course, was with him in Indianapolis when he took over for Andrew Luck 3 years ago. And he said, for him, the most important thing he thinks a quarterback needs to do is manage the game. And that's what Jacoby Brissett does really well.
Now, Mary Kay, that wasn't the only quarterback thing today. Josh Rosen got a few reps. We haven't seen him do team reps. He got a few reps. And also Joshua Dobbs has been working a little bit more with the second team as they get him ready to be the backup. But when you see Rosen finally get that work, what do you think?
You know what? They are ramping up into life after Deshaun, or life without Deshaun.
Or life before Deshaun.
Or life before Deshaun for the first 6 weeks of the season. So what's it going to be like? Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback, and then they've got to give these other guys a little bit of time. Now, I still do think that they're going to look for another number 2 quarterback. But in the meantime, as you mentioned, Josh Rosen got his very first reps in 11-on-11s today. That's significant. He's ramping up a little bit. Those guys have taken him under their wing. I see him talking a lot to Deshaun Watson. I see him talking to Jacoby Brissett, and now he got a chance to actually throw a few balls today.
Yeah, and Ashley, look, the reality is Jacoby has remained fairly healthy when he's been starting, but the reality is these guys are one snap away.
Exactly. So it's understandable, I think, why they're not willing to trust Joshua Dobbs, who just hasn't taken a lot of snaps in his NFL career, isn't it? Under like 10 or something crazy like that. So it's understandable, I think, why they would want somebody with more experience if they want to go that route, especially, I think, if the NFL appeals this suspension for Deshaun Watson and gets it longer. I think that would definitely be something that they could potentially be interested in.
Okay, a little injury news. Amari Cooper did not practice today, but Mary Kay, it does not sound serious.
No, it doesn't. But before we get to Amari, real quick, I just want to mention, so we don't forget it, that they did put on the pads for the first time today.
True.
And there was a little minor skirmish between Donovan Peoples-Jones and Martin Emerson on an out route on the sideline. No big deal, but Kevin wants to make sure that these guys take care of each other and that they don't take cheap shots at each other. So we have to keep an eye on some of that. But as far as Amari Cooper is concerned, we saw him go down with a little bit of an ankle injury yesterday, but it didn't seem too bad. He got up and walked back to the sidelines. Kevin Stefanski said he should be back pretty soon, so that's good news for Amari.
And, Ashley, this receiving core has been so beat up, but there are opportunities here for guys before they start to get healthy.
Yeah, and again, like we talked about the other day, how that's why it's so unfortunate for a guy like Isaiah Weston, who people were excited about maybe, who was undrafted, to get those looks. So this is a time for a guy like Michael Woods, who we've been talking about is maybe a guy on the bubble. We know the Browns don't like to part ways with draft picks, but that receiver room kind of fills up fast. So it's definitely interesting for guys like that to get more shots this early in camp.
Okay, another day of Browns training camp in the books here in Berea. They are back at it on Wednesday. Of course, we'll cover everything that happened today and everything tomorrow at cleveland.com/Browns.